In Joshua chapter 1, God tells Joshua multiple times, do not be afraid. Moses has passed away. God has given them time to mourn. He gives them time to grieve. That's a whole nother message right there, that God gives you space and gives you time to process your pain. And then he tells Joshua, hey, Moses is dead. He's very matter of fact. It's time for you to get up. He didn't tell him to stop grieving. He just said it's time to move on with your life. He didn't say you didn't have to stop being sad, because obviously the people would still be sad and still be mourning. But if you want to walk this walk, you have to learn to mourn and journey in your purpose at the same time. That is so hard at times, to be able to do what God has asked you to do while you're struggling internally. But God will give you his spirit, his help, his word to help you while you're moving forward. So Joshua and the people were dealing with the grief of Moses, but also the fear that would come as they journey into the promised land. And God tells Joshua, as I was with Moses, I'll be with you. He says, keep my word, keep it in your mouth, keep it in you, and do not be afraid. Do not let your fear stop you from doing what I've called you to do. And for many of us, we've allowed our fears to stop us from doing what God has called us to do. And that fear is manifesting itself in procrastination. It's manifesting itself in coming up with every excuse for why we can't and why we shouldn't. It's manifesting itself, watch this, in trying to be overly perfect. It has to be right. It has to be this. If it's not like this, I can't do it. When the reality is, it's never going to be perfect. I'm not saying don't study. I'm not saying don't get advice. Do all that stuff. But know that, watch this, walking into a new endeavor is going to produce fear. And you're going to have to learn to do it afraid. But when fear comes, that word that God told you to hold on to, start talking to yourself about what God says more than you talk to yourself about the thing that's bringing you fear. Fear is a part of the process, and new will often create hesitancy. But God has called you to do it. It's time to step in it. It's time to do it. You got this, because God wouldn't call you to do something that he hasn't empowered you to be able to do. You got this. It's just time to step out, time to do it. Again, he told him about 3 times, be strong, very courageous. That's my word for you today. Be strong and very courageous, because we need courage when fear is present. You got this. Be courageous and get started.